Thank you, Democrats. I'm here to tell you today that we are united to beat Heather Wilson. I also here to tell you that there are more people on stage than in all of Wagon Mound, New Mexico. Okay, I'm gonna do what my wife does to my children. We're gonna have to settle down just for a few minutes. We have wonderful candidates and leaders and many speeches to hear about. So I want to take this time to thank this party. The Democrats that are here, we all stand for the same values, but you need to know a little bit about where I come from and why I think there's something special going on in this room. You see, I come from a small town where my mother, who's here with me today, which is a very special day, my mother, Hector Balderas, who, as you can see from the passion of LD Cruz, who was a kind of a father figure in my life, as my father wasn't around, or my mother, who struggled with us on food stamps, Medicaid, public housing. And it wasn't a year that didn't go by when I was a senior that every now and then I'd be given a hand-me-down jacket from the local church. But the serious and the special thing that's going on up here is that at that time I didn't know I was poor. And the reason, Democrats, that I didn't know I was poor is because my mother filled me with a sense of hope and optimism. And my grandfather, who was a World War II hero, and we didn't know he was a war hero until he passed on. And it was the military service that we realized that he was a special individual. He always told me, siempre sabes los que quieren trabajar juntos. You always know who wants to work together. And with my mom filling me with hope and optimism and my grandfather teaching me a work ethic, I learned in Wagon Mound that the sky's the limit. So as I'm running for the United States Senate, I want to thank my mom, and I want to thank Democrats for fighting for those programs. Now the reason I'm in the United States Senate race, because I get that question a lot. The reason I'm in the United States Senate race today, at this moment, at this time, and in this struggle, is that too many New Mexicans today are worried about the future. And what is tragic and what has drawn me to this race is that they have lost that hope and optimism in what is great about New Mexico. I feel an obligation when people talk about struggling with mortgages, or people talk to me about never having the American dream of home ownership. I take it a little personal. When people tell me a single mother that's on a TANF program this year, that she is just hoping to get a job interview at Walgreens, but we're under attack from Republicans that want to cut those type of programs and job training, I take it personal. Now people will say, well, what's that mocosito going to do from Wagon Mound, really? They said it when I became a legislator. They said it when I became state auditor. And I get that a little bit now. What's that mocosito really going to do in Washington? But the truth of the matter is that for all that went on in this fiscal collapse, don't we wonder why no one has been held accountable on Wall Street and why no one has gone to jail? And the people that I'm listening to are out there struggling, get frustrated when they see Washington tripping all over themselves to give tax breaks to the wealthy while they debate cutting military benefits for families. Tripping all over themselves when they say we're a little bit short to fund Medicaid and Medicare and education. We're a little bit short to build water systems in northern New Mexico. We're a little bit short to give our teachers a pay raise.
Give them a raise!
I'm here to tell you, Democrats, that we know there's a better way. You've taught me there's a better way. We're going to start investing in education like we've never seen. We're going to start investing in teachers and in schools. And we're going to go onto the school sites and fight hard directly, because when my wife as a school teacher tells me we're losing half our students, you'll have a senator that goes to those classrooms and fights hard to save those students. We all know there's a better way. That when we invest in infrastructure and jobs, when we remember that there's a Cubero and a Wagon Mount and a Deming and a Luna and a Roswell, when we remember those communities, when we remember to invest in those communities, we all know that we all do better. But we have a Washington that needs to steer course a different direction. That we need someone who's going to fight for fiscal accountability, that's going to fight for truth and transparency, that is going to look to you and say that you are worth fighting for when we fight for civil rights. Now I'm here to tell you, because I've heard it for about a year, you can't get it done. It's too hard. It's too hard to break in. It's too frustrating when the odds are against us. And I'm here to tell you that we can do it. Because we've been doing it with the Office of the State Auditor. You'd never know I had 15 employees to protect $60 billion of your assets. Sunland Park wouldn't know it. Hemis Mountain School didn't know it. Because there's not a community that I've turned my back to when they ask for help. Time after time, whether you've seen me on the news, whether you've seen me at a gas station, whether you've seen me at a coffee shop, I have taken the accountability fight to fight for every tax dollar. But not because it's just a job you gave me, but because I realize that if you waste a dollar, if you misuse a dollar, if you give a tax dollar to a wealthy guy, that dollar will not get to that community in that school, and that's a fight worth fighting for in Washington, D.C. Now I can promise you today that New Mexico cannot afford a Senator Heather Wilson, and a Senator Heather Wilson would never want to debate a Senator Hector Balderas. Now, I don't have to tell you that both the things that Heather wants to do, like cut education, cut Medicare, cut Social Security to pay for tax cuts for the wealthy, is not only a fiscal accountability debate, but it's a moral debate. And that moral debate is going to be won on trust and on the people of New Mexico that know what we're willing to fight for when the doors are shut in Washington. When the elections are over and the campaigns are done, you have to really trust someone is willing to take that fight when the shadows settle in. I'm here to tell you that that's a fight that's very personal to me. It's something that I'm concerned about from a personal nature. Now, I'm an underdog. But I'm here to tell you that that's okay to be an underdog, because we're all a state of underdogs. But it's time that we have our voice heard in the shadows and in the halls. It's time that we reclaim the fight that Dennis Chavez used to fight for. It's time to reclaim the fight that Senator Udall and Senator Bingaman have been fighting for. The greatest moments in our history are when we've invested in an underdog. So if you send an underdog to Washington, D.C., I'll make sure that Washington continues to invest in you. Let's go out and unite this party and beat Heather Wilson. Thank you.